What's going on, fellow A-plusters? It is I, your host, Adam Perez, back once again with a brand new episode review as we're going to be getting into Gotham Knights episode number 5, titled More Money, More Problems. I do apologize that I didn't get the opportunity to drop this on Wednesday for you guys. It's been a rather hectic week for me, unfortunately, with me having to commute to work this week. I am commuting to work this week along with next week, so I will definitely do my part to try and be a little bit better with dropping Gotham Knights on time for you guys. But Tuesday night was just unavailable for me, and I wasn't able to sit down and watch it live like I usually certainly try to, and then go ahead and record it that Tuesday evening for you guys to definitely have it ready by Wednesday. So I do apologize, but I definitely will try and do my best for next week for you guys. But let's go ahead and get into episode number 5 here this week. We're finally, I've been needing to see Misha Collins really step up as Harvey Dent here in this season. I honestly haven't been super impressed, but now that we're getting into sort of, the opening intro to Harvey Dent maybe having a crack, if you will, here. It definitely has piqued my interest, and it definitely feels like Misha Collins is really going to get some opportunity to do some amazing performances and some really great acting in here. And I think he did certainly that with Harvey Dent, because holy crap, the way that this particular episode ends also just continues to add fuel to the fire of what is certainly going on with Harvey Dent. I already found it odd to see Rebecca Marsh kind of approach Harvey that way. I mean, look, there was definitely that connection at the gala in the previous episode, right? But I thought it was like, hey, just a little reference here or there type of thing. But the fact that she actually comes to his job to go ahead and speak to him about what her and what him and her husband might have spoken about, yeah, maybe get a little too close, a little bit too personal. So like immediately when that happened, I was like, I was so proud of you, Harvey. So absolutely proud of you for completely shutting that down, making it business only sort of thing, right? Not bringing up the past. But when we get the ending and the bomb conclusion in here, it's like, man, maybe he was sending some signals and doing some things earlier when he certainly should not have. Like, this clearly doesn't feel like this might have been their first time linking up once again. Maybe that's kind of why she approached him, wondering if maybe her husband had found out. So who knows how long this has actually been going on with Rebecca Marsh. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think that this was the first time that they've actually hooked up, or do you think that this certainly goes back further, besides the maybe one reference that they wind up sort of having? But who knows? I have absolutely no idea, but definitely a huge surprise. I mean, look, talking about missing time though, right? I mean, if you're going to miss time anyway, well, maybe you actually want to be present for that. Who certainly knows? But I just thought it was a really cool twist towards the end. A really cool sort of reveal to just show you the lens in which this identity dysmorphia sort of thing might certainly work. And to kind of see what that other side of Harvey certainly might be capable of. Like, that's got to be definitely frightening for him, to certainly say the least. When that's like the one thing you probably were hoping would never certainly happen to you. So look, he's just as surprised as we definitely are. But talk about just a startling way to go ahead and end off the episode. I thought they did an amazing job. I thought they did an amazing job in that regards. And the scene when he's with the psychiatrist, I thought was really just riveting. I mean, he literally had me at the edge of his seat as he kind of like explaining the backstory to Harvey Dent, to himself, the abusive father that he wind up having, and the idea of also a side of his dad that was very much a very loving and caring dad. Also, again, bringing up the idea of identity dysmorphia, something that his father certainly had, and clearly something that was a worry of Harvey Dent that maybe certainly definitely might be passed on to him, sort of thing. I mean, look, he definitely gets the reassurance from his psychiatrist, but at the end of this episode, when you wake up in Rebecca Marsh's bed, yeah, maybe not the most confidence in the advice that you've certainly gotten from a very trained and probably a great psychiatrist in her own right, sort of thing. So Harvey Dent definitely has something to clearly worry about, and so I'm kind of curious to see how far down this definitely goes. Have we seen the other side of the Harvey Dent character yet? I highly doubt it, but I am kind of curious if they'll ever let us see that other persona that maybe Misha Collins winds up sort of bringing forth. And I kind of want to see what that personality is going to be like. I mean, no offense, but his Harvey Dent's been a little bit dull. You know what I mean? So clearly, it seems like I'm here for Misha Collins' other side to himself, and I wonder if maybe that's what got him sort of the casting role as Harvey Dent. But again, I don't know how deep that they're certainly going to showcase this for Harvey Dent as far as how deep it goes for season one. I mean, look, we're like 5 episodes in. He's already seen the psychiatrist. So clearly, there is definitely movement to certainly push him over the edge. And that makes this season even that much more interesting. Like the kids and the mystery alone of this particular season has definitely gotten me hooked. I was already kind of on the fence about the Misha Collins stuff, but now that you give me a juicy Harvey Dent storyline to really enjoy, now I'm just like, man, that's just an additional layer for me to really enjoy this season. And it starts making sense to me now, because last week I was kind of confused into like what was Harvey Dent so confused about the coin being missing, or not being in the evidence case anymore, the idea that he actually had the key, sort of thing. So it's now all making sense that even he too is confused about how he even ended up with the key, and is trying to put things together. So the fact that he's actually missing time, definitely alarming, but I'm loving the way that Misha Collins is certainly performing this, and it's definitely made Harvey Dent that much more interesting. And again, he was just really involved in a lot of great scenes in this episode. So really great stuff. And look, outside of Misha Collins as Harvey Dent, I think another gentleman that put on an incredible performance in here was, in fact, the Turner Haynes character played by Oscar Morgan. I'm really enjoying the Turner Hayes character. Honestly, is it Haynes or Hayes? I think it's Hayes. Turner Hayes. Let me just make sure. Yeah, Turner Hayes. I'm really enjoying the Turner Hayes character. He's kind of growing on me a little bit. I definitely treated him very much like Duela in here, of the spoiled bat brat, if you will, right? But if anything, I think Oscar, performance wise, is doing some pretty good work here. There is one sequence in this episode that I just didn't believe, and that's when he literally rolled up on Homeboy in the middle of the daylight, punched him, and then kicked him. The kick wasn't even that powerful enough for me to think that he knocked this guy out. I just think it was just a really underwhelming performance. Like, I'm actually surprised. Like, I don't know how many times they did that scene, but I'm surprised that that's the final edit that they landed on. Like, you didn't have any better shots selections than that one. The villain just didn't go down in the way that I would expect him to. You know what I'm saying? So I wish Turner had put a little bit more oomph behind it. But aside from that, I thought, if anything, Oscar was in his bag this week as Turner, man. Really digging into the brooding, just the very um, dark dump vibes that he was currently in, right? I mean, the man was certainly betrayed somebody that he loved and cared about and thought loved him back, stabbed him in the back. You know what I mean? Everything is just dark and gloomy. Like, all the responses that he's giving to his team in the beginning of this, he's just going down this really dark hole, sort of thing. And I'm telling you, man, he's just giving off these Batman vibes. The facial expressions are there. He really looked like sort of a mini Bruce Wayne, not only taking the actual persona features of his father and sort of that dark attitude, but clearly falling for crazy and an insane and dangerous women. I don't know what it is with these Wayne men who clearly love like psychopaths, but it just kind of draws them in just a little bit. And he finds himself kind of intertwined, it feels like, here with Duella, or at least she's having some sort of additional influence to him, like there's definitely a vibe and a connection that they very much have teased very early in this particular season so far. But this was the episode in which she certainly definitely takes notice. And I definitely chuckled at the end because I was just, while I was writing my notes and watching the episode, I'm thinking to myself, like, he's got like this Batman dark aura vibe about him, right? Like this definitely not only vigilante vibe, but I think she mentions like the rule breaker, right? Pushing the boundaries a little bit, living on the edge, and that's something that's clearly appealing to Duella in there. So for her to be able to pick up on him changing in this episode too, just kind of made me laugh, if you will. So I dig the vibe. I dig the vibe certainly between these two, and it's not one of those things that feels very much like a leap for me. Like right now, because of everything that he's been through, Homeboy's super vulnerable. He's got the daughter of the Joker here who understands what it's like to be betrayed and be stuck and left alone, sort of thing, and having to rely on yourself. So you want to talk about like the worst possible time to have a bad influence. You got Duella certainly speaking into Turner's ears, but it's an awesome connection on screen. And so I think Oscar is doing an incredible job here in this particular week's episode, and I kind of dig his smarts because he definitely feels like the Batman of the family in the sense of really guiding everybody, splitting up the work, coming up with some of these plans and stuff, and kind of really making them work. So I kind of dig the role that Turner Hayes is kind of fallen into. And again, for somebody I wasn't really that impressed with him in the first episode, he definitely has certainly continued to grow on me. If there was a con for this episode, I mean, look, this episode didn't certainly blow me away. If anything, I would say the Harvey Dent stuff, like we just mentioned, I thought was a really strong factor, along with the Turner Hayes stuff. But if there was sort of I don't want to even say a con, but something that was just really jolting to me, the Carrie Kelly situation here, and it's not even the idea of Carrie Kelly missing school. Like, hey, that's the hey, she's a vigilante. She's a superhero, right? She's gonna try and get away with stuff while her mom is currently at work. I do love the fact that we're introduced to her mom in here to get a little bit further insight in regards to just what her home life is. The fact that her mom's a full-time nurse. Clearly, she does, or for a full-time doctor. Excuse me, she is a doctor, Dr. Kelly. I apologize. She's a full-time doctor, right? She has these long shifts, so Carrie Kelly is very much left alone to kind of do as she will. This allows her to be that free bird, that Robin, and allow her to continue to do vigilante. So I kind of dig the insight there. But look, I'm just going to be honest, okay? There is no way that Carrie Kelly's mom comes to the school and her daughter's not there, and then to hear the teacher talk about this absence thing is a little bit of a repeat, and then you get a call from your mom saying that she wants to speak with you when you get home. There is no way, especially not with a black mom, you're getting away with the whole I'm gonna pretend I'm sleeping and she'll just ignore me. No, no, okay, no. Covers are getting pulled. We're having a conversation now. Like there's no way. Clearly the writers have never met a black mom in their life. Okay, um, that was if out of everything I've seen in this season, that was like the most unbelievable thing that I've seen. And I've seen Turner Hayes going against Talon. Like I mean, come on, we seen some outlandish things, but the most outlandish thing that we saw happened in this episode. All right, because Carrie Kelly's mom, there's no way her mom is like, oh, she's sleeping. Oh, we'll have this conversation in the morning. No, she's a repeat offender of something that your mom just now discovered. There's no way you're sleeping through the night. Yeah, so there's no way. But so that's really the only disturbing part of the episode that I certainly have. But I also thought it was pretty cool here, quick honorable mention, that it's really the citizens of Gotham that wind up giving this group their name. The idea of them being referred to as these Knights of Gotham or these Gotham Knights, yada yada yada. I'm like, hey, that's pretty cool. It's the idea. Like, I don't know why I thought the show was named Gotham Knights, but I don't necessarily thought if I referred to them as like, oh, they're the Gotham. I mean, well, I guess I did refer to them as like they're the Gotham Knights. But I think it's just cool that they didn't give themselves their own name, that the city literally named them. So I thought that was actually pretty cool. And if anything, it's a little bit of an achievement, right? To show what you're certainly more incapable of doing, being the Robin Hoods of Gotham City. And again, Turner Hayes with the line and getting into his Batman tone, like, oh, what are they gonna think when they find out their heroes are the most wanted, or something. I mean, maybe not that deep, but that's what he was going for. That's definitely a Batman line, you know what I mean? So, um, again, I thought it was a pretty fun episode. I dug the idea of like, especially the idea of trying to take some of the money that certainly wasn't yours, that belonged to the McKellen family, and throwing out a bunch and just seeing poor Duela really like just freaking out over the idea that she had so much money in her hands and everything has just certainly been taken from her, sort of thing. So I thought that was pretty fascinating. A couple other honorable mentions here, real quick, because this episode is actually rather Harper heavy also. I thought they really allowed her to kind of shine in this episode too, as we do see Stephanie Brown winds up doing more investigative work. She's really fucking good at her job, honestly. Like, I'm really impressed with what Stephanie's capable of doing here, hacking into sort of the finances and really going down the rabbit hole, if you will. I say trying to find the ledger that might show proof that the Court of Owls are laundering money through a shell company to clean the money. They were trying to figure out who was paying for Eunice's stay at the old people's home. They thought at first that maybe it was Cressida, but found out when she did a little bit deeper digging that it wasn't Cressida that paid for it, but it was in fact sort of a shell company. And so they came up with the brilliant plan here to rob the mob, get the ledger that traces all the income and all the revenue and things like that, and your trail of money, in order to try and make the connections like, hey, this is actually the Court of Owls operation here. And they come to find out the McCullens are in fact sort of laundering and cleaning this dirty money for the Court of Owls, and that's how we see them run across the $30 million in this particular episode. So you definitely get the opportunity to see how deep this runs, but get an opportunity also to see just the depths in which Harper certainly is involved here. I thought she did okay in regards to her performance. You know, the idea of her bumping into her ex-boyfriend, I didn't really care for that storyline so much, honestly, in regards to it. I mean, look, it's cool that at the end of the day, her and Cullen certainly do make up. Because that was an aspect of her life that she certainly kept from Cullen. But to a certain extent, she's kind of right. Like, look, if you got a little brother that you got to take care of, you got to bust your ass and do whatever you certainly need to. Look, I'm never going to suggest somebody, hey, join the mob to provide a lifestyle for yourself. I'm never going to ask for that. But I don't live on the streets, you know what I'm saying? Like, shit gets real. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do to survive. I totally understand that. So it is one of those things that's like, I can understand Harper's perspective also. And I think it's cool that Cullen comes around and is like, look, you've done a shit ton for me. You know what I mean? I should be a little bit more appreciative and definitely not freak out for you, because I'm sure you had to do some shit that even she wasn't proud of. You know what I mean? And I think she said she only did it for like a year or whatever the case may be. Not look, nobody should work for the mob, but I'm just saying. The fact that we at least got a nice little insider look at Harper, I thought was a fitting touch. And the same thing when it comes to Stephanie Brown, right? Getting to see just the other side of her life and her family. I thought that was pretty interesting, especially after the conversation she's had with Cullen over the past couple of episodes, and the idea of really opening up a little bit more. So the fact that we do see how her mom is an addict, right? Even being at the school meeting, or the school, I don't want to say PTA meeting, but the idea of showing up drinking with pills also, right? And look, again, I've never been in that situation before, but I'm sure that clearly is a struggle of, I'm really upset and disappointed and pissed off at my parents for what they're doing and how much they're hurting me. But at the same time, I love them, right? And so just the idea of trying to cover up her mom while still feeling these kind of emotions and stuff, just an interesting insight into Stephanie Brown's life, just to build on top of what she's already told Cullen. So while she didn't necessarily feel like she had such a huge role, the moments that we got to see on here at least showcase that aspect of her life just a little bit. But overall, decent episode here. One that I certainly enjoyed very much, if you ask me. Carried by Misha Collins, along with Oscar here as Harvey Dent and Turner as well, guys. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought about this particular episode. At the end of the day, these are always just simply my A+ opinions. But look, I always want to know yours, guys. So definitely go ahead and let me know your thoughts. And again, if there's anything that I missed, character moments, storyline details, maybe some Easter eggs that just kind of flew over my head, let me know what you guys definitely thought in the comment section box below, and we'll definitely continue this episode or continue this conversation until next week's episode. But until then, do me a big favor, as always, guys, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.